You know, it's something, I mean, you can't change me. I've been teaching this way for about 30 some odd years. The best you can do is kind of just figure out why you feel the way you do about me. Maybe talk to me. Maybe I'll tone it down a little bit. I can do some minor adjustments here and there. And that's how things work. Yeah.
So my first original question was, you talk about software and software being brain in someone, right?
Somewhat.
Software being brain in someone.
Right.
You can fine tune the software, or you can alter the software, or is it hardwired and there's only something that's very
Temperament is hardwired. If you're an introvert, period. You should come visit me in my office. I don't scream. I don't use foul language. I'm very, very, very quiet. If you don't talk, I won't talk. That's who I am. I've always been this way. That you can't change. This is an act. It's a good act. You know, I'm here to express ideas, give you some information about some of, you know, the great ideas that humanity has generated. You know, but once this is done, you know, this act is done, I go back to being who I am. That is always going to be with you. If you're an extrovert, you will envy those who are introverts because they're somewhat animated. You know, if you're an introvert and there's chaos within you, you're always going to be envious of the extroverts because extroverts have this stability about them. They have a wife they're okay with, regardless of how chaotic it may be. They have a job. They do the best they can. You know, they can do all sorts of things. They think, but they don't feel. Introverts feel, and most of the thinking is rooted in their feelings. That you can't do much. The software you're talking about is, you're a cultural animal, you're a social animal, you're a historical animal. In other words, you are an American. That's number one. You are an African American or Black American, number two. You also have been born in the 21st century. That's number three. So when you put all these ingredients together, what do you get? You're tech savvy, you're an individual, you love happiness, you also come from a history that you can't escape. Now, all these three areas of life that are all connected to you, they have their own unique set of emotions. And all these, remember, emotions are nothing but judgments. That's what an emotion is. I am hurt. That's a judgment. I feel bad. That's another judgment. And then you justify the emotions that live inside you by using your rationality. Okay? Now, the culture, the history, the time in which you live, they offer you advertisements. They create you. You're not created in the image of God. You're created in the image of your culture, your society, and your place in history. Now, if you say to me, how do I fix my life? And forgive me for saying this, okay? The way you think about things is cultural, social, historical. And the emotions that live inside you, culture, history, and society. And none of them are working for you. If you want me to teach you how to think and feel the right way, according to me, if you like me enough, you have to allow me to get rid of your culture for the time being. You have to allow me to get rid of the social components and the historical components, all the things you've experienced, processed, and come to a conclusion. Just put everything on pause for about 5 years. 5 years. Now that you have teeth, well, go out there and eat whatever. You can process things well. That you can change. And it depends how deep of a change, how intense of a change, how structural of a change you want. If the change you want is superficial, well, it doesn't really mean anything. You know. If on the other hand, you want the foundation to be changed, that's a very, very different thing. I mean, it's a really harsh way of putting things, but because I think America is a happiness market, and there are gurus or teachers out there always trying to advertise a shortcut to you being happy, to you being this, to you being that, I think it's not a bad thing for people to just be slapped by certain realities of life. Change is tough. And the older you are, the more difficult it is to change. Because as you get older, you just accumulate more things. You know, I don't have time for you to put your stuff on the pavement for people to take. You got to be like 95. One day you come to your house, you realize it's cluttered, you say, screw everything, I'm just giving everything away. Eventually all of us will get there. If on the other hand you're 30 or 20 and you want at least a relatively decent life for the next 40 years, someone needs to walk into your life and get rid of the stuff that are obstacles. But the problem is the things that hinder your growth are the things to which you're attached, are the things that have given you identity and meaning and value. They give you power because you judge the world through them. You know, this reminds me of an episode. We were going to watch a movie in Sacramento, but, you know, we didn't want to pay for the tickets. So we waited and waited and waited for people to exit the back door. And then 20 of us then walk in. And everybody was sitting very quiet, waiting for the movie to come, you know, to turn on. And here we are just walking in. It was such an embarrassing thing. Deviante.
You think greatness comes?
The what?
You think greatness comes from detachment?
No. It reminds me of a story. Can I tell it to you? There is a group of people or students walking, and their teacher is, you know, with them, and they get to a town. And the teacher looks at his senior disciple and says to him, "We're going to open shop here, and a lot of people are going to come and ask us questions. I'm going to sit on my throne, the teacher's chair. You stand next to me." Okay. And I'm sorry, you're going to stand. You're going to sit on my chair, and I'm going to stand next to you. And every time someone asks you a question, tell them, this question is far too simple for me. I'm going to tell my senior disciple to answer it. You know, some people see greatness as pushing and bullying other people. Some people see greatness as being humble and being invisible. It really, for the most part, depends on where you are. I mean, as parents, you scream and shout at your kids. Whenever they go to the fridge to get some ice cream, you like kick them in the face. I mean, not really. But when you take them to the grandparents, you know, they've lived like 80, 90, 100 years. They say, "Oh, you want ice cream? Fine. Go knock yourself out. Oh, you broke the window? Ah, it's okay, no problem." And the things that usually parents care for, or people who are not so experienced in life care for, they become completely irrelevant to those who are seasoned. And I think as you age and you begin to understand things more, detachment basically happens. You know, it's like an orange stuck to a branch. It's green, and it desperately wants detachment. God damn it, you're not ripe yet. Just wait. No, I want detachment. I've read the Buddha. And someone looks at this, green orange and says, can you just be patient, just wait another 4 or 5 months? And the orange waits and waits and waits and waits, and all of a sudden it turns orange. And then it just drops. And I think whenever you become mature, whenever you become seasoned, whenever you're cooked in anything, it's like the multiplication table. I'm sure you used it, Now you have no need for it. And that's how things are. The moment you become good at something, detachment just comes organically and naturally. It's kind of like when you walk around the lake or Berkeley, all these people with yoga mats walking around. Where are you going? It's my Zen moment. Oh, okay, have a good time. And if I was to borrow from the ideas of Krishnamurti, the Indian sage, I would say, listen, if you really, really want to have a Zen moment, just look at the way your life is. Just breathe in and breathe out your life. Pay attention to it. Allow the emotions to come up. Deal with the emotions. You work from 9 in the morning till 7 at night. That's a shitty life. Your husband, your wife is waiting, your kids are waiting. If you want to escape 10 minutes by doing a Zen moment, well, you're an idiot. And I suppose if you were to do as Krishnamurti would say, just embrace your life for what it is. Eventually, most of the emotions you have about your life, which for the most part are going to be negative, they'll eventually drop. Because they'll eventually force you to change some fundamental things about yourself and the way you look at your life. And once you accept that, things will just kind of fade. Yeah, don't be detached. First of all, you're young. You need to be attached to everything. You need to want everything. Not need, but just want a lot of things. Accumulate. For many reasons. You're African American in this crappy culture. Get your PhD, buy a house, buy 20 cars, have a mansion. And once there is some security, then if you want to walk away from the whole thing, then walk away. But for now, you don't want to walk away. Don't be a hippie. That's the stupidest thing anyone can do for themselves. Be rich. Money. Well, if you got wealthy parents, then that's a different story. Yeah.
Because I was thinking about it, basically having rich parents or being like the Buddha or Jesus Christ, being set from youth, basically is what kind of allowed them to be great. And you only reach their level if you're, I guess, privileged from the start.
The Buddha was a prince. He had ice cream every single day. He had access to Xbox. He could travel, He had the latest model of cell phones. Never worked. His marriage was arranged, Moses was a prince. Mahavira was a prince. Muhammad married a princess. She was really wealthy, and so was he. Malcolm X, despite being in prison, he joined the Muslim Black Brotherhood. He had contact with Elijah Muhammad. When he got released, he was his mouthpiece. Martin Luther King Jr. was privileged. Angela Davis was privileged. You need to have money. And because for most of us, if I was to take you back in time, you find yourself on this planet being completely naked. And there are animals who are ready to devour you. So most of your brain space is for food, shelter. That's all you care for. Food and shelter. Sheltering your body, the flesh first, and then having a space where you can just put your flesh in so you can kind of rest and be okay with, the warmth or the cold. Okay? When agriculture comes about, now you have a ground, you can plant seeds, and 2 months later, corn grows. There is no reason for you to travel anymore. You know? So if your brain space had occupied with agriculture, finding food for about 15 hours a day, now you grow your own food. Now you store food, which means you have a good amount of your brain space now empty. What are you going to do with this free space? See, the Buddha doesn't have to think about money, doesn't have to think about food, doesn't have to think about sex. He doesn't have to think about any of them. He is privileged. And so when you have a lot of emptiness in your brain, your life becomes meaningless. It's like Groundhog Day. You keep eating the same ice cream over and over and over again. You say, is there anything more? Okay. Now, some people become like a Hugh Hefner. External beauty create a good amount of intensity in mirages. You just follow one mirage after another. And even though there may be some days where there are glitches in the system where you say, I don't want to be around these young folks anymore, because you don't know what the other world contains and how to approach it the right way. You kind of just fall back into the world that you know, which is you're just a Hugh Hefner. You're going to be a Hugh Hefner. You're going to die a Hugh Hefner. Okay? The Buddha, I suppose, was lucky enough not to be too intoxicated with the power and the privilege that was given to him. He just comes to a point where he looks at someone, he's old and says, damn. Someone who's dead, damn. And then he looks at this monk. And that's another thing. It's like seeing a homeless person. I mean, consider for a moment. You work from 6 in the morning till 5. Then you take classes just to pay your mortgage. I mean, you own nothing in this culture. In Africa, Mexico, the Middle East, the moment you walk into your house, you own the house. There are no mortgages. You own the goddamn house. Here, you're enslaved for 30 years. And if you're really stupid, you have adjustable rates, which means that the banks will toy with your life. Today, you pay 3% on like a $500,000 loan. Tomorrow, it hikes to 10%. Okay? And then you look at this monk and you say, man, this guy has nothing and he's so happy. Why is that? And, it has to be more than simply a thing of curiosity, a thing that you envy. I mean, you have to kind of just become disgusted by yourself. Don't read the Buddha. He's no good. Buddha was made 3,000 years ago in India in a different culture, different time. Your task here, finish school, make money, save money, buy a house, buy a car, and then if you want to be a hippie, go be a hippie. This is not Canada or France. You don't get free healthcare, man. Nobody cares about you. So you got to care for yourself. And the only way you do, make sure you secure the basics. Food, shelter, clothing. Be greedy and be lustful. Have lots of money in your savings account. Yeah. Fuck. There is another way. Just let me help you major in philosophy and humanities. Get your master's degree. Come back here and teach a couple of classes and then you're on your own. Apply to different schools and get jobs and then hopefully get a full-time job. That's what I can do for you. These ideas mean nothing. I mean, it may be that we talk about detachment and wisdom. Screw all of that. Be cunning, be clever, be like a fox. Exploit, get ahead. And then have the decency at a certain time to kind of pause, reflect, and then change your life. And whatever money you don't need, just give them to me. Yeah. Anyone else?
Didn't the hippies become yuppies? Didn't they make money off of what they did? It was about a community of people who shared ideas, and then from that they made their mistakes, springboarded into a different class almost after that of well-to-do rich people in the 80s. And the not being a hippie, I always look at it as the best way to live your life is to embed yourself within your community and do what you do best and share with them and do it, not necessarily go to academia,
Okay.
but to find where you fit and to do that as good as you can. And
My definition of a hippie, at least the ones that I have seen in the past some years, are those who had a lot of money but did a lot of coke.
the
Um,
80s there.
those who exercise a good amount of free sex, free love or free sex, and they ended up with AIDS. And they eventually became homeless. These are the hippies I'm talking about, that they say, I'm just going to live life as a free-spirited entity, and life is not going to allow you to be free for too long. Eventually, your wings are going to be clipped, Your parents will be disgusted by you, your companion will be disgusted by you, and then you'll be left on the streets. There is nothing wrong if you can survive that particular, lifestyle. If by hippie you mean you have the basics, you know how to think well and how to feel well and how to move through life well that's a great place to be, fine. But most hippies don't end up that way. At least not the ones that I've encountered. Yes?
Yeah, going back on what you said, I define greatness now that I'm older, for myself at least, is like I said, giving back to your community or being involved in the community. Because to be honest, if it's anything outside the area, I tend to not really care. I say it doesn't matter. If something happens in France, I feel bad. Especially since I really like the culture. But if something happens in Oakland, San Francisco, Richmond, I'm gonna care more just because that's my immediate community.
Sure.
So I feel as long as you do your part, you're trying to make people feel lives better, and that's greatness. Because if you focus on the large scale, you're not really gonna do anything.
Yeah, it's true.
You're just gonna be
Yeah.
focusing on a bunch of things and not doing anything. Whereas if you put your time in your community, you might see some
It's true.
changes.
If I may just add a little bit to the greatness question, I don't need your essay to be great. Because in my eyes, and a very great essay is when you're 60. And when you've observed, understood, and after many years of practice, now you're able to express the internal and the internal worlds. So don't be chasing after greatness for this class. If you want to be great, pass this class. Come to class regularly. Do the work. You're not yet able to write great essays. That's not where you are. And just because you're able to string words together, string them really well, it doesn't mean you understand. And just because you understand, it doesn't mean you can apply. I think for young people today, if you want to be great, just be mediocre. Do the responsibilities on your plate. Go to school. Help your parents. Read some books. Maybe learn how to play an instrument. Have a relatively decent companion. Don't drink, don't smoke. Take a lot of units, graduate quickly. And don't start with a BA. Do a master's degree. That's greatness. Now, if you have more expectation from yourself, then that's a different story. But for now, where you are, your station in life, graduate quickly. Don't spend many hours writing essays. Doesn't mean anything.
I think writing essays does matter, Because, like, for example, let's say you work for me. Let's say I'm a CEO of a company, and I hire a lawyer, and I'm over here looking at his resume, and I'm over here thinking, okay, so he went to this school. I read like his whatever.
No, it's true. You're right.
Paper. I read one of the papers. I'm like, oh, he's a good writer. And then I hire him, and then he's nothing like, he doesn't know how to like write a sentence, write an essay.
Let me revise my position. Try writing good essays. She's absolutely right.
And then he turns something in and it's garbage. And I'm like, who are you?
Yeah.
Who I hired? Like, what's going on? Then I'm gonna have to fire him or look at somebody else. It's a waste of my time. You know, and I'm a CEO of a company. My time is precious. And I'd be mad.
So,
I will ruin somebody if they come to my company. Like, don't hire this person. All my friends. They don't hire.
any other questions before I talk about something completely irrelevant? Anyone else?
You don't agree with that, though? Like, would you be mad if you hired someone?
No, I see everyone incompetent, including myself. So,
Okay.
yeah, and I don't care for my company. Yeah.
Will you ever leave America?
I'm sorry?
Will you ever leave America?
No, man, I've been here for 40 years. Go where? My grandparents are dead. My aunts and uncles are dead. My relatives who are the new generation, I have no idea who they are, and I don't even really care to know them.
You seem to hate it here so much.
Here? I don't hate America, man. I hate what Americans do to America. Immigrants really know how to take advantage of this place. Free school? Are you kidding? You pay zero. You can work at In-N-Out. It pays 20 some bucks an hour. If you become a manager, you make over 120,000 bucks a year. $20,000 a year. Where on this planet do you go to make that much money? And you're a kid. You can get a car, have a place, go to school. You can do all of those things. And then 80% of people here are just depressed. Go to school. Oh, no, I don't want to go to school. But do some goddamn thing. No, you know, life owes me. Yeah, it owes you this. You know, at the car wash, we used to take deposit money, Bank of America across the street, Roosevelt Square. And oftentimes, the teller would look at me and say, why do you guys come here and take our jobs? We don't take anybody's jobs. You just don't want it, man. I mean, it's amazing, the Asian immigrants who came here. Look at their kids. Beautiful. Maybe not this generation, maybe the generation before. You know, they all go to school, they become doctors, engineers, all sorts of things. They know how to take advantage. You need to be poor to go to a rich place and say, maybe I can do this and that, make a life for myself. Here, it's just a complete waste. I think as a prerequisite, anyone who's born in America needs to kind of be shipped to some third world country and be forced to stay there for like 5, 10, 15 years to realize how difficult life is. You know, it's difficult to get to a school in India or in the Middle East. Nobody has money, man. It's tough. And you need to be really, really bright and intelligent to be accepted. And if your life, you work from the moment you wake up to the time to go to bed, you ain't got time to think about things or read a book. Here, there is this luxury. You just have time, which just goes to waste.
Do you think that's because of how rich of a country this is in terms of money and
Sure.
kind of things? That's maybe good qualities about it as well.
Yeah.
Being able to provide school for everybody, even though we're kind of peeling that away now.
It's a great place. Lots of resources that, when you go to Europe, they don't have this stuff.
Yeah, but Europe presses out something different at the end. Here it's the rat race, and there
Yeah,
seems to be
it's true.
a run at We gotta run, we gotta go, we gotta do.
It's true.
All the cities are built around automobiles and in Spain,
Yeah.
it's not the rat race. Nobody makes more than $60,000 a year.
It's true.
Just relaxes, or not relaxes, they still have a grind, but it's not like we have here. But then also Spain is never gonna produce Bill Gates or anybody with any new stuff coming out for the world.
It's true. Yeah.
So there's benefits.
Yeah. I mean, in Norway, if you make 60,000 a year, you're in the tax bracket of maybe 10%.
Oh,
You know,
you're
if you make
yeah.
over $60,000, you're all of a sudden you jump up to about 47%. So who the hell would want to work 50 hours a week, make 61,000 to pay most of it to the government? You know,
In Copenhagen, when I was there, they have luxury taxes on things. Oh, well over 100% tax on a car. So you buy $80,000 car, probably $160,000.
yeah. In the 1980s, my parents went to Germany. You buy a Coke, it's like $2. You have the guy open the cap for you, $25. That's how things are. And so people are forced to remain modest. And it's just part of who and what they are. Yeah.
I think one of the issues in America is we're monkeys. So there's an experiment that's done with monkeys. You have two monkeys that can see each other and do a task, same task. You give one a grape, you give one a cucumber, and the one that gets the cucumber says no, throws it back and insists on a grape. And so when we have some people that work and get huge remuneration for it, and other people that work harder or do less, and they can see the people that are getting the grape, they're like, no, I don't want to do it. I deserve the grape too. And I think that hard work should be. We have this expectation that hard work just gets us the grape, and I think there's some value in that, and I also think that it makes some people just be like, well, how come I don't get that too? When they're not considering the bigger picture and what goes into that. I think there's a huge discrepancy which causes the problem, but I also think other people.
Let me just add this one last piece before we go home. Regardless of what America is and who lives in it and how it is and all that, we live here. There's a system in place. Get to know the system well. Prosper in it really, really well. I don't care about Bill Gates and if it's a rat race or not a rat race. This is the place we live. It's a rat race. Become one. Become a good rat. And know that you've become a rat. And once you're prospered, once you have a relatively good savings account, if the awareness still is about you, stop being a rat and be a lamb if you want. And don't just be a rat, be a lion, eat the rats. Just don't get lost in the world. It's like people ask me, what's the value of money? Okay, don't pay your rent. See what this value is. Is there any way we can get rid of money? I don't know, man. Ever since I've been alive, I've always been around money. Don't engage in abstract and foolish and stupid things. Just know where you are and just do what you need to do. I know we didn't get to some of the questions, and it's okay. The questions we did get to, and that wasn't very great either. Any last parting comments before we go home?
Wait, so like in Israel?
You know what? I'm just kidding. Israel.
So in
That's
Israel,
further.
I had a friend from Israel. She told me that in Israel, everyone has a job. And in Israel, it doesn't matter what job you have, it's looked upon bad if you talk badly about someone's job, because that's just your character. That's just how you were brought up, because in Israel, they understand that every job is needed for the country to be prosperous. So that in their culture, they have that embedded.
You were lied to. Just because you live in Israel, it doesn't mean you can overcome human nature.
No. Okay, obviously not everybody, but like it's like a custom, like cultural thing, like like in America.
No,
Okay, whatever. That's just something I feel.
no.
And I kind of go by that also, you know.
I mean, it's nice if it was true.
Citizens have to be in the military there?
I'm sorry? Yeah.
If you're
It's mandatory.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that what we're talking about?
No, so in Israel, like, let's say someone's a janitor, right? Like, they don't say just because the janitor and the CEO, you're gonna talk badly about that person's job. Like, they have understanding that everybody's job is needed.
That's not
In
true.
order for the country.
If you're a janitor, you got kids and you can't afford them to go to school, and you got a CEO somewhere,
Anyway, the point being is like they respect everyone's.
they don't respect anybody. Are you kidding?
Okay, whatever. That's what I was told. I don't know how true it is on everyone in Israel.
Well, it depends what lie you want to accept as truth, and that's fine. If that's the lie you're comfortable with, it's,
I do that, so I
Yeah.
respect everyone.
I don't respect anybody. So listen, I'm just kidding. Have a nice weekend. So have a good day. I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always fun.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.
I just had a quick question about the attachment, detachment, and greatness thing.
Sure.
Like, doesn't like